Hello, everyone. Thank you to our wonderful introductions. Those are great. I'm Ellie Sharp, and I'm very excited to be here today with Kristen Nataraja to kick off our showcase presentations. Thank you, everyone who's able to join us today. This semester, I organized a team of students to compete in the Climate Investment Challenge. It's an annual business school competition run by Imperial College London that seeks innovative financial solutions to the climate crisis. Kristen and I are going to present today on behalf of our wonderful team to share the proposal that we've submitted to the competition. But first, we'd like to acknowledge and honor the lands where we're sitting today. I'm presenting from sacred Piscataway and Nantego land near Annapolis, Maryland, and Kristen is joining from sacred Coast Miwok land in Marin County, California. Our proposal is based around an investment vehicle called a Real Estate Investment Trust, or a REIT. We chose this model because it's a very well recognized type of investment, and it generates returns based on the increasing value of an underlying asset, in this case, land. Through a REIT, we see a huge opportunity to combine a problem, abandoned farmland, with a solution, regenerative agriculture, in a way that offers enormous potential benefit for both financial returns and climate impact.
In the US, there are more than 630 million acres of abandoned farmland. Around the world, this figure soars to over a billion. Urban sprawl, coupled with a generation of farm workers nearing retirement, puts much of this land at risk for permanent conversion to non-agricultural use, often becoming a new urban or low-density residential area. From a climate perspective, this means the transition from a beneficial carbon sink to a harmful emission source. From a social perspective, this creates a tremendous problem for our food supply chain. The Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that global food production will need to increase 70% by 2050 to feed our growing population. Yet, the agriculture industry makes it difficult for most farmers to get started. And if that initial hurdle is overcome, farmers then face the dual challenge of earning a living wage and growing their business, which gives little space to think about local supply chains and climate impact. When we look at it from a systems view, we can see the difference between small-scale ranchers and farmers compared to the deep pockets of big ag, especially around barriers to entry and growth. For example, although regenerative agriculture businesses demonstrably have a 78% higher profit margin, most socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers do not have access to tap into that profitability because they are not able to secure loans or to buy land or invest in sustainable practices. This affordability gap is leading to huge attrition rates. The map you see shows the areas where development is happening on land previously used for agricultural purposes. For our proposal, we concentrated on abandoned farmland in the southeastern US, where the potential for conversion to regenerative agriculture is greatest.
There's a unique opportunity here to reclaim this abandoned farmland and make sure it's used in a productive and climate positive way. By providing the financial structures to access this land and set up regenerative farming practices, we can create benefits for the community and the climate that generate substantial and sustainable returns. For example, the World Resources Institute estimates that regenerative farming creates a potential carbon sink of up to 8.6 gigatons per year around the world. Additionally, implementing biochar to rejuvenate soil nutrients and introducing organic practices can drive crop yields up 6.4% higher than conventional farming. Together, we believe investing in these strategies can double or triple the value of abandoned farmland over 10 to 15 years. So how does this work? We are proposing creating a hybrid REIT that earns returns through multiple revenue streams. Once funded by investors, the REIT will purchase land assets at a discount and source local farm workers to live and work on that land. The REIT will provide loans and fund the transition to regenerative agricultural practices, to buy farm equipment, that sort of thing. Think of those as startup funds. And over time, it will generate returns from land leases to farmers, interest on those startup loans, and two other key revenue sources. The first is through carbon credits from soil sequestration. And the second is through sales of high value land after year 10, ideally back to the farmers who've been living and working there for a decade or so. The idea is that this is a long-term low risk investment that enables farm ownership and delivers significant climate benefits, all while providing a return to investors. Let's add in some numbers. For the first tranche or pool of investors, we'd target just under 10,000 acres across 48 farms in the southeastern US. The initial investment would be about $14.5 million. In year one, the REIT provides loans worth $80,000 per farm for the startup costs and that conversion to regenerative ag practices. And at this point, it also starts paying dividends to investors. By year five, the REIT is earning consistent low risk revenue of about $1.5 million annually from the leases, the loans, and the carbon credits. Meanwhile, farmers on this land are taking home nearly $40,000 in profit, and that's after they've made their payments back to the REIT. In year 10, the REIT will aim to sell about 40% of the land holdings back to farmers, generating a 40% increase in net asset value.
Generally speaking, the investors we're targeting to finance the REIT are impact investors and funds looking to align investments with ESG or climate goals. In addition, some of the land we are targeting is located in federal opportunity zones, creating a capital gains advantage to holding investments for more than 10 years. Thus, we are looking for patient, long-term investors. The REIT structure has a compelling value prop for all of the stakeholders. For the first investment tranche or pool, we would raise capital from approximately 115 ESG or impact investors with an average buy-in of $150,000. We'd also reserve about $500,000 for low net worth investors or retail investors who come in at a smaller buy-in, perhaps $1,000 to $10,000. These are likely folks who live near the purchased lands and are looking to positively impact their local community and food supply chain while earning a return. For farmers, the REIT aims to cultivate relationships with struggling and aspiring farmers, small and mid-sized operations, conventional farmers looking to switch to regenerative ag, or socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers who lack access to capital to make their businesses successful. The REIT represents not only a reliable living wage, but also a pathway to farm ownership in an industry where that is extremely difficult to achieve. In the local communities, we project that these 48 farms would create more than 1,000 new jobs and generate significant new tax revenue for the community. Beyond that, the farms would bring fresh, healthy produce to the local food supply chain. Of course, the other key stakeholder here is the environment. Over the span of 10 years, these farms would sequester 572,000 million metric tons of carbon dioxide, equivalent to planting 9.5 million trees or avoiding 632 million pounds of coal burning. I'm so excited about it, it makes me tongue-tied.
So what could be better than scaling up that sort of positive climate impact? We mentioned at the top of the presentation that there are over 1 billion acres of threatened farmland around the world. And what's even more attractive from an investment perspective is that a lot of that land is less expensive outside the US. Once the first investment tranche is up and running, we envision scaling this rapidly, first across the southeastern US, then throughout North America before going globally. The potential impact is on the order of 20 gigatons of carbon dioxide sequestered in soil. Investors talk all the time about looking for gigaton level impact, and this is 20 times that, as well as over $2 trillion in total addressable market to pursue. Since this was an innovation challenge after all, some of the new strategies our team developed include novel use of the REIT model to invest in an undervalued class of real estate assets and to apply regenerative ag practices in order to multiply the land value. Second, we prioritize transitioning ownership to farmers, which is unique in this space. And third, we build in community involvement from the very beginning by reserving a portion of the investment pool for local investors to continue generating community wealth. Collectively, these strategies empower the communities who are both most likely to be impacted by climate change with the ownership to actually address it locally and sustainably. With this proposal, essentially deploying two climate solutions in tandem, financed sustainably through a REIT, I'm very proud to say our team advanced to the semifinal round of the competition. We were recognized among the top 15 teams in the Climate Investment Challenge this spring and competed with over 126 other submissions. So if you're interested in climate finance or solutions like this, we would love to connect with you after to continue the conversation. I'll try to pop our emails in the chat once that opens up. Thank you all for your time.